Sorry, guys, you have to laugh at that just a little bit. We had yesterday for victory. Now it's time to move on, isn't it? Time to move on to what is next. I saved the gloating. I yesterday didn't say a whole lot of anything out of respect for those who are grieving because I know how it was in 2020. We all do. But here we are. I'm Tabitha with Tabs on Tap. I hope you guys are all having a great Thursday morning. Good morning, Rob. I know I'm curious what you guys think about the show starting at 8 a.m. versus 7 a.m. I kind of have mixed thoughts on it. For one, when coming back from Georgia, I am completely exhausted. I mean, I am really exhausted. And I work late at night. Last night, I didn't get home until about 11, no, about 10:30, 11 p.m. Some nights it's not till midnight. And so getting up at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, trying to get everything up and going by 7 a.m. is a little bit tough. Good morning, Ryan and Allison and Dottie and Jay. And I feel like a lot of people weren't tuning in till 8 o'clock either way. And so then I found myself repeating some things for people who didn't jump on early. So I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air. I'm curious what everyone else thinks about it. Allison, I prefer 7, but we'll watch whenever you do it. I appreciate that, Allison. And good morning, Troy. And of course, the show is available 24/7 as well on YouTube, on X, on Telegram, and of course, Facebook. But we're going to be getting into that just a little bit later on when we get to it. Jay says, I like the 7 a.m. start better, easier to catch the whole show for me. I have mixed thoughts on it. You know, this morning, I think I'm more prepared at 8 a.m., considering half the time when I started at 7, it was like 7:15 anyway, because I'm always running late. Like today, I'm messing with my camera for the past 15 minutes, and that's a whole other story. I've got a lot of work to do when it comes to housekeeping for the show. But I was up this morning. Good morning, Karen. I was up this morning at 4 a.m. either way. So I don't know. Maybe 7 o'clock's easier. I don't know. I guess I'll have to think about that between now and the weekend and see what we see. And tomorrow, Colonel Joe Adams joining us once again tomorrow for a brief time. I know he's a busy, busy man. Of course, Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard. If you want to reach out to the Washington Guard, you can do that at patriots@thewashingtonguard.com. I know a lot of people in the St. Louis area are wondering, where do we go next? What do we do next? How do we prepare for the ensuing violence? And violence is ensuing. So therefore, if you want to reach out to him, you can do that at patriots@thewashingtonguard.com. And, even if you're not in the St. Louis area, you can still reach out. He will be happy to talk to you about anything that might be on your mind. Good morning, Jennifer and Kim. And thank you, Jay. I don't know what's best for me, Jay, quite honestly. Sometimes I prefer to do what's best for all of you because that makes things a little bit easier for me to make some decisions. But either way, happy to be back home. I've been here for what? Oh, I don't even know. Has it been 2 weeks already on Saturday? I can't, I don't even know. I'll tell you what, I put my entire life on hold for like 6 weeks, the 42 days that I was in Georgia. And I did not, as some of you know, I have a business. I did not work at all at my business during those days. I had other people filling in for me, and I'm catching up, which is why I ended the show a little bit early yesterday, because I am definitely playing catch up. I have a lot to do, not to mention some of the other work I'm involved in and things I do. Troy, I'm glad I moved to Florida. My new town is Trump country. Troy, I think we all need to move there with you because I don't think you're going to have to worry about a whole lot in Florida. We're going to be talking about the ensuing violence. We're going to cover that. A lot of the swing states are expecting to see violence because guess what? Trump won all of them. Isn't that crazy? He won all of them. All of them. It's crazy. And so there's a lot going on around the country. We're going to get into that. Allison says the Washington Guard will have a table at the Washington, Missouri gun show this weekend. Come check it out and learn what the Washington Guard does. Yes, you know what? Colonel Joe Adams will fill us in on that tomorrow because I would love it if people can come out. I have to work this weekend. So the St. Louis Film Festival is going on all week. I don't know if any of you are going to the film festival, but considering a large portion of my work is anti-piracy, I am going to be very, very busy this weekend, during the weekend, again next weekend. Happy to have the St. Louis Film Festival keeping us busy. Some of the things I want to talk about today, there's so much. I could probably have a 4 hour show today. And again, I ended the show early yesterday because I had to work, quite honestly. And next week, I believe there might be 2 days that I'm not here because, again, I'm working on some different anti piracy projects. So we'll get to that when we do. Eventually, I'm going to have somebody that can fill in for me when I'm not here. That way it's not a delay in shows. I'm working. I have been so busy heading into this election that there's been nothing on my mind but this election, nothing. And there's so much I need to do. I'm going to work on getting guests, branching out into different topics and different things, especially as we head through winter and then into spring and back into gardening season, back into homesteading. There's so many things we're going to be talking about, but the election had to come first, and that had to be in the forefront. And it still will be, because you know what? Trump is not certified yet. We're going to talk about that. There's a lot that can happen between now and certification, between now and the inauguration. We're going to get into that because there is a lot to say. We're going to touch on Dr. Phil because, man, if I hope none of you watch Dr. Phil. I really do. I hope you don't. And if you do, please, never again. We're going to get into that. I want to talk about the Democrats in general. Why don't Democrats get it? Why don't they get it? We probably all have our opinions on why, but we're definitely going to talk about that because, not only Democrats I know, but not as much the people I know as the people I'm reading comments from, the posts I'm seeing on social media, celebrities that are speaking out. It's insane. People don't get it. They just don't get why this happened, why Trump ended up getting the popular votes. It's crazy. And Jay, Dr. Phil was and always has been an Oprah lackey. I couldn't agree with you more. On that, we're going to be talking about Elon Musk and Robert Kennedy Jr., because I think they're going to be forefront in the Trump administration in some ways. So we're going to get into that. They both have a lot of things that they are going to be working on, provided we get that far. We've got to get there first. We're going to talk about Biden. How is it possible that he received 81 million votes in 2020? How is that even possible? And at the time, Trump received 81 million. I don't know why I keep saying 1,000. 81 million votes in 2020. Trump had 74 million votes in 2020. A lot like what he had now. And guess what? He won in a landslide, as we predicted that he would. We're going to talk about the charges coming up for Trump and what's going on there, because there is a little bit of news there. We're going to talk, what are liberals doing? And when I talk about liberals, I'm talking about the folks on the far 2% on the very far left, because those are the people that Democrats have been focusing on for quite some time now. And it's also the exact same reason why they lost. So we're going to talk about that. Let's see here. So many things to talk about. The stock market, record high. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about our battle plan. We are going to have a battle plan, and we're going to keep on it, and we're going to talk about it. And, we have an amazing opportunity right now. We potentially have Republicans, not only in the White House, but the Senate and the House. I mean, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle that? There's going to be some, obviously, Democrats that are going to stand in the way. A lot of Republicans are going to stand in the way, because a lot of our Republican leaders are in Congress. Guess what? They're pretty much Democrats. So we'll deal with them. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to play some videos for you because there's so much to talk about. A lot of professors canceling classes because they have literally lost their minds. It's crazy. Troy, Don Jr. is making sure Trump's new cabinet is filled with the right people. And Mandy, yes, the math isn't mathing. No, it's not. Jay, yes, they are. The rhinos. And yes, Troy, we are going to bring it because you know what? We have to. We have to. And you know what? People keep saying, well, Donald Trump served 4 years. What happened? Why didn't he have a healthcare plan? Why didn't he have this? Why didn't he have that? Why didn't he do all of these different things? Why? Because Democrats and some Republicans blocked him every single step of the way. Just about the only, and now there were a couple of Democrats that did support a lot of Trump's actions as well, but the vast majority of Congress did not support Donald Trump. And they blocked every positive action that he had. And I see some of that going on, but not to quite the extent that it was, because I think I mean, I don't know. I know I'm probably disillusioning myself. I see a lot of obstacles down the road, no question about it. And Kevin, good morning, Kevin. They should have let Trump win in 2020. They would have gridlocked him in 2020. Now we will have total control to make America great again. Man, Kevin, you got that right. And we're going to get started, trust me, on day one. But you know what? All of us, we can get started ahead of that because you know what? We have to remember, and I think I'm going to remind you guys of this constantly. I know I kind of already do, is that we are the majority. And I know a lot of times conservatives, we don't feel like we're the majority because the media and social media platforms and so on, they want to make us feel like we are not the majority. They want to intimidate us into feeling like our opinions don't matter, that we're all crazy tinfoil hat wearing conservatives and that we don't know anything. We're uneducated hillbillies, right? But no, we actually are the majority. We are. And now we know it more than ever. We, the people, should feel empowered by the fact that now we know for a fact that we are a majority. So I hope you guys feel empowered by that and use your power. We're going to get to some different ways and how you can use your power. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump or the presidency because guess what? They're just the facilitators. It's we, the people, who make the rules. If you don't like something, eliminate it. If you do like something, promote it. It is really that simple. Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Annette. Jay, unfortunately, we have been right the entire time. Yes, we have been right. We don't always want to be right, but we absolutely have been right. And yes, Kevin, we're the majority and we're getting bigger and stronger. Yes, we are. And I kind of even had to explain this to a friend of mine this morning. I wouldn't consider him somebody who's on the far 2% of the left, but I'm not going to go into who he is, but he is the father of a very big A-list celebrity, stepfather, that is, or sorry, father-in-law. Got to get that one right. He's the father-in-law and ex-father-in-law. That we just keep getting it further away. Uh, but he lives in California. He's got a lot of different stuff going on, and he doesn't understand what's happening. He's very upset, and he's like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do? You know, our lives are going down the drain. And how did this happen? How did Democrats do this? You know, how did they lose?" And I sent him a long message, and I'm like, "Listen, I was just traveling, you know, for these 42 days across the country. I knew that we were going to win these swing states because there are no Harris signs around. There is largely not a lot of Harris supporters, particularly in the groups she wants them to be in. And how Democrats messed up is because they made all the rules. Oops, sorry, I guess I don't have my phone turned off. Um, usually I do that before we get started. But Democrats, they made all the rules for the farthest 2% to the far left. And when they make all those rules, all they do is alienate literally everyone else. We Americans, we don't want to fight in wars, do we? We don't want to send our children off to fight over power and oil and pillage other countries and kill innocent people. And nor do our military members. You know, they're serving their country. They want to keep us protected. That's why they're over there. But if you talk to some of the military members, they're like, you know, we have to do what we have to do because we need a strong military. But yet, some of the things we have to do are not things that we think are best for the country. And it's led to a lot of people leaving the military. Same with our police forces. You know, and anyway, I was explaining to this guy that what happened that was so bad during these 4 years that Trump served. What was so bad? I think things were pretty darn good compared to where they are now. And, Democrats didn't consider the fact that the majority of America is poor. It's true. The majority of America is poor. And I'm sorry to say that, but it is absolutely 100% true. And why is that? Is because of the government. They've made people poor. I've talked to so many people. I would go to homes and it would be an 89-year-old, let's say, man who answers the door. And I thought the house, my son, he would say, "Oh, that house is abandoned." I say, "No, someone actually lives there." I can't tell you how many houses we came across where he thought they were abandoned because he's been a little bit sheltered. He's not been in a lot of these different, neighborhoods across the country. And I'm like, no, people live there. I'd go up to the door, he'd go up to the door, and sure enough, somebody would answer, usually either a younger person with small children or an elderly person. And they would answer the door, and it would look like an abandoned house because you could tell that the house would be completely in disrepair. The grass would be really tall. And we would talk to these people, and they would tell us, and trust me, this is not a small percentage of people. This is a large percentage of people that we visited in these conditions. And they would tell us, I can't survive. My kids aren't surviving, but thank God for them. They're helping me. And you look around, and it just gave you a real good idea of what America really is. Many of us are very privileged. Of course, we also live in an area, around a city. Of course, we're not, most of us aren't in a rural area. I am now. But when you get out of these big, nice neighborhoods and you see the rural area, the majority of the United States is rural. And when you get onto these rural areas, trust me, people are struggling. The majority of people are struggling. So Democrats, they don't get it. And why? Because most Democrats aren't out in this area. They're in the inner city. They're not out in these areas. And even people in some areas of the inner city are struggling. And overwhelmingly so, people are just tired of it. They're tired of it. And somebody said disenfranchised because of no primary. Of course, Kamala Harris never got a single vote. As a matter of fact, had they put her up to get some votes in a primary, she wouldn't have gotten any, maybe, probably none, because I'm pretty sure even the people who have ended up supporting her probably would have supported someone else. But Democrats, man, they do not get it. They don't get it. Paul, good morning, Paul. My question to all of my liberal friends on Facebook is what has been so star spangled awesome over the last 4 years? They're all saying that the country is now doomed because Trump was reelected. Oh my gosh, yes. Paul, I see so many comments like that. I was reading through some facial social media posts, and some of the things that I was reading are insane. I'm like, who are these people? And of course, abortion. A lot of people truly did vote Kamala Harris over abortion. And I think these people don't understand that abortion is at the state level. That's not about the president, it's at the state level. Trump is not going to take abortion away from the state. Each state can make their own rules. Look at Missouri as an example. Number three passed, right? And Missouri's a red state. So apparently, enough people in Missouri want abortions, and therefore, that's the way it went. But it's still a red state. So people still overwhelmingly voted for Trump in this election. And some of these people, here's John Rich. We all know who John Rich, I think most of us know who John Rich is. He says, there are many reasons I voted for DJT, but the main one is my hope. He rounds up every last pedophile and child trafficker in America. He hauls them off en masse and destroys their operations. Our nation will never have God's favor until we stop the killing and abusing of innocents. 100% agreed. Why do you think they call Joe Biden Pedo Peter? I mean, who is running all of this? We just talked about John Podesta's good friend, didn't we? The John Podesta's good friend that said Pizzagate wasn't real. Now he's been arrested for horrific crimes against children. Oh, and that says, I heard Joe Rogan say Democrats have limited information. They rely on the MSM for all their information. That is 100% true, Annette. That is 100% true. Jay, they've been brainwashed by the left and the media. 100% true. Paul, they're finding out through exit polls that abortion was not as high as everyone expected. Well, I'm glad to hear that because I was really getting worried. Allison, if people read and understand the Missouri abortion bill, it would not pass. I agree, but people don't take the time to read and research. They listen to the emotional pleas of people on social media. And every single time I hear the reasons why Democrats don't want to vote for Trump. Now, that's outside of the people who just don't like Trump. There are people who just do not like Trump. And trust me, I get it. Um, I understand that. If you don't like Trump, then no, you don't want to vote for him. However, the people I hear that don't have any valid reason, they're just talking about policy, it's all misinformation. All of it. It's all misinformation. Dottie, so many have become convinced we're a democracy and not a constitutional republic. Man, I have, how many times have you heard Democrats talk about democracy? It's like their number one soundbite: democracy, democracy, democracy. Now they're talking about the Constitution. Since when have Democrat leaders supported the Constitution? Seriously, Kamala Harris in her exit speech, we're going to fight for the Constitution. When have you ever fought for the Constitution? In fact, Democrats in Congress always say that the Constitution is a suggestion. And of course, Biden's going to speak today. He's probably going to talk about the Constitution too. Jay, Epstein and Diddy didn't get away with all this for years because no one knew. They got away with it because of corruption. You couldn't be more right about that, Jay. And I hope that Donald Trump keeps his promise. I think we're going to hold him to that, to, of course, to spill the beans on all of these different stories, the Epstein list. He hasn't talked about Diddy, but I'm sure that that will be on the list as well. And A3 commercials were very deceiving. Absolutely. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. And that's just it. People, when it comes to campaigning, you can lie. You can post these different campaign ads that are nothing but lies. They pick and choose what they want to put out there and have you sign your ballot and you think you're doing the right thing when you're not. Annette, misinformation, TDS, you got that right. Jay, her speech was very adversarial. Well, it was, because she said in one, it was very much conflicting because in one way she said there's going to be a peaceful transition of power. But then she said, well, we're going to continue the fight and blah, blah, blah. We're going to get into that. Not quite yet, but we're going to get into that because I know, and you guys know, and I didn't want to say anything yesterday. I wanted us to have our day of victory and to just let that settle in. And for me, it was a lot of settling in. My brain had a hard time wrapping itself around it because even though I knew Trump would win in a landslide, I knew he had the votes of the majority of Americans because I witnessed it with my own eyes. I really didn't know what Democrats would pull. I had no idea. And it was down to the wire where I'm thinking, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And I was waiting for him to win Georgia because that was what I was basing it on. I'm like, okay, if he wins Georgia, if I see Georgia going in his favor, then I'm going to know that, yes, finally, we're having a fair election. How? I don't know. I have my ideas on how we ended up with a Trump win. We're going to talk about that. And Jay, although she's absolutely no longer relevant, she's a lame duck even more than Biden. Now, who's running this country, by the way? So Joe Biden is not fit enough to run for reelection, but he is fit enough to be the president right now. How does any of that make any sense to anyone? Paul, and where did all of the 14 million Trump votes from 2020 go this election? I'm telling you, we're going to get into that too. And Annette, yes, I had PTSD of 2020. I did too. Every thought I had for the most part, especially show related, was about running into the election and doing what we can to stand up. And I don't think Democrats did as much. It's kind of odd to me. And I think that maybe what happened is that some of the Democrats that were instrumental in getting out the vote for Harris in this election weren't there. They're no longer with her. That's the only thing I can think of because you and I know that in the past, every single election, Democrats We've all talked about it. They were front and center. Democrats have done things that conservatives could never do and have never done up until now. And they would get buses and they would drive people to the polls. They would go around and it's true, pay people at their front door and say, hey, even homeless people, I'll give you $20, I'll give you $50, whatever the amount, was that was approved, if you jump on this bus and come up to the poll and vote for our candidate. And, they would go out in mass and sign up registered voters. They would go and harvest ballots. Remember ballot harvesting in 2020? That didn't happen. That did not happen in this election. We didn't have Democrats stepping up to the plate like they did in prior elections. It just didn't happen. The Harris campaign, they were not paying people either. Now, I don't know if the Biden campaign paid volunteer or not volunteers, but paid people to go out and canvass or ballot harvest. I don't know. But I do know the Harris campaign was not paying people. And they were not giving any type of monetary payment. They weren't covering expenses. Maybe that's why. I checked into it because I wanted to see what was going on with the Trump campaign versus the Harris campaign. And they were not paying people. They said volunteer only. That yes, you could come to these swing states and canvass, but they were not going to pay you to do it. And trust me, I looked. Kevin, let's see here. Laura Trump and the DNC did an amazing job of keeping the election fair this time. I don't think they had a choice this time. Tammy, I want the 4 years back that they stole me to, Tammy. I want my money back, is what I want. Mandy, I hate to say it, but I think we needed the last 4 years for people to wake up. Mandy, you're probably right. I think in these last 4 years, we woke up in a way we would have never woken up had we not had Biden, in office and seeing all of the outright shenanigans that went on. What Democrats want to talk about Trump did this, Trump did that. Oh, he's going to prison. He's a criminal. He's a misogynist. He's a sexist. He's all of these terrible, terrible things. But no one wants to talk about Democrats. Joe Biden is the president right now. Why are you talking about Trump? Why not talk about Joe Biden and the fact that he took in $27 million through these China deals? What about Burisma? What about Hunter Biden and the fact that Hunter Biden was smoking crack and was naked and literally having intimate relations in these videos, which that's okay. That's his private laptop. But where the problem comes in is that his laptop was confiscated by the FBI and they sat on it and they didn't tell anyone and they hid it and they said it wasn't true. They blamed it on us and said we're all a bunch of conspiracy theorists. And yet it was true, wasn't it? Everything we think was true. What about Tara Reade? Tara Reade accused Joe Biden of sexually assaulting her right there, right there by the Capitol building. Does anyone talk about that? Nope, nope, nope. Why? Why don't people talk about that? Because they don't know. Democrats don't know. Democrats can't talk about Joe Biden and all of the things he's done. They can't talk about all of the rapes that occur at the southern border when these unaccompanied minors come over. They can't talk about little girls, tied to trees that have been gang raped by dozens of other illegals. They don't talk about the bodies that are found, there in the border because people, starved to death or were beat to death or dehydrated. They don't want to talk about that. They don't talk about the pedophilia that's going on, the child pornography that's going on, the parties like Diddy's party. This stuff is so rampant that I almost feel like, oh, I'm missing out. Not that I'm missing out, but that we're all the very few people in our country who aren't partaking in all this, hedonism because they've hidden it so well. Democrats don't know about these things. Why? Because they don't hear it in the media. The media, the liberal media, doesn't talk about what Democrats do. They only demonize us and Trump. I mean, look at the things we've been called recently. It's crazy. It's really crazy. And yes, these last 4 years have opened people's eyes. And yes, people did vote accordingly because people are tired of it, Democrats. I keep saying Democrats, they don't get it, they don't get it, they don't. And trust me, they don't get it. They don't get it. And you know what? Had Harris won, and let's hope she still doesn't win. Had Harris won, we wouldn't be talking about this stuff anymore. We wouldn't. As soon as she accepted that position, as soon as she was inaugurated, she already said within 100 days, if Congress didn't approve her gun legislation, she would write an executive order. And we would have had mandatory gun buybacks, no question about it. We would be shut down. I wouldn't be standing here talking to you guys. There would be no such thing as free speech anymore. And that's a fact. It is a fact. And Jay, because Democrats in charge are involved, yes, because they feed the news. They feed the news to these liberal news stations. Is Trump going to change that? Is he going to crack down on social media platforms and their censorship? I hope so, because yesterday, well, every day, it actually happens to me every day. And it's happened every day this week anyway. So yesterday I had another of my posts reprimanded and deleted. And it was one that what did I post? I don't even remember. I've posted so many different things. And oh gosh, what was it? I don't remember. I've got it screenshot somewhere, but it was something that was truthful and they took it off. Oh, I don't remember what it was. Isn't that terrible? I thought about it this morning and I saved it and I don't recall. But whatever it was something that was truthful. It wasn't demeaning. It wasn't, leading to violence or anything else. And they deleted it because they said it's not true and it's not factual. And I'm like, well, it is absolutely 100% factual. I had posted a video of the rioting that was taking place in Seattle, and they deleted it and they reprimanded me for that as well. And I'm tired of it, quite honestly. I am absolutely tired of it. And later on in the show, I'm going to talk about some of the things we can do as the majority to stop it ourselves. Because guess what? There's a perfectly good platform called X, where you do have the freedom of speech and you can discuss these issues with like-minded people. It takes a lot of getting used to switch from one platform to another. But don't you think we should start representing people who represent us? I think we should. And Jay, wasn't it about violence on the left? There's nothing but violence on the left, and they don't want to talk about that now, do they? Let's see here. Liz Cheney, she made this statement. Our nation's democratic system functioned last night, and we have a new president-elect. All Americans are bound, whether we like the outcome or not, to accept the results of our elections. We now have a special responsibility as citizens of the greatest nation on earth to do everything we can to support and defend our Constitution. Do you really think Liz Cheney cares about our Constitution? Let's see here. Preserve the rule of law and ensure that our institutions hold over these coming 4 years. And I'm sure she's talking about the FDA, the UN, NATO, the Federal Reserve, all things that will probably be disbanded. And she says citizens across the country, our courts, members of the press, and those serving in our federal, state, and local governments must now be the guardrails of democracy. Yeah, the good ones. The good ones. Since when did Liz Cheney care about the Constitution? Kamala Harris yesterday, the Constitution. Not one time have I heard these people mention the Constitution in the past. Why now? Why now? And yeah, stocks up. Yesterday, the market closed at a record high. Think about that, at a record high. Why? Because people are joyous. They are, because we know, oh my God, don't you feel like the chains have dropped from you and you're unburdened and can breathe that sigh of relief? Like I said yesterday when I started out the show, I seriously almost cried because I felt so unburdened by what I thought was going to happen over the next 4 years. Allison, Fourth Amendment, Article 3. And yes, Annette, what a hypocrite. Liz Cheney is trying to save her skin now. Yeah, because she's done. She is out. Here's some of the other, I've got so many important things to talk about, but I want to go over some of these statements because it just goes to show I don't blame these people. I'm going to read these statements, but I don't blame these people. You know who I blame? I blame the media. The media, and I blame social media owners, the people who own a lot of these social media platforms that call what we say disinformation and claim what they say is truth. So Whoopi Goldberg, this was her statement. She said, let's see here. She said, he's the president. I'm still not going to say his name. That's not going to change. And then her co host, Sunny Hostin, said, profoundly disturbed. And then British author Philip Pullman only wrote, Goodbye, America. It was nice knowing you. Well, goodbye, Philip, because I have never even heard of you. Stephen King, there's a sign you can see in many shops that sell beautiful and fragile items, lovely to look at, delightful to hold, but once you break it, then it's sold. You can say the same thing about democracy. Yeah, I don't see Democrats actually caring about democracy. I'm kind of curious how other people see that. Duncan Jones, I don't even know who this person is. He's feeling Brexity. I think I may have overestimated the goodness in people. Singer Ethel Kane, again, I have no clue who this person is. If you voted for Trump, I hope the peace never finds you. That's kind of hostile. And she said, oh, it's a she. She says, instead, I hope clarity strikes you someday like a clap of lightning, and you have to live the rest of your life with the knowledge and guilt of what you've done and who you are as a person. I think we all know how we feel about that statement. Ariana Grande, not that we care what she thinks, holding the hand of every person who is feeling immeasurable heaviness of this outcome today. The Wire actor Wendell Pierce, don't know who he is. He says he congratulated Harris for a great campaign. And then he went on to say the Supreme Court will be changed for a generation. I'll never see a moderate court again in my lifetime. Trump is racist, misogynist, and xenophobic. Viola Davis, now I thought her comment was nice considering she thanked Harris for her bravery and for a loving America's promise, and she will forever be proud. That's at least respectful. And let's see here. Jamie Lee Curtis. Not surprising. I know she's a big liberal, of course. A return to a more restrictive, some fear draconian time, and that minority groups will now be more afraid. But what it really means is that we wake up and fight. Is she calling for violence? Fight for women and our children and their futures and fight against tyranny. One day at a time, one fight at a time, one protest at a time. It sounds to me like she's saying go out and protest and fight. That's what it means to be American. John Cusack, very outspoken. The fact that the country would choose to destroy itself by voting in a convicted felon and rapist and Nazi is a sign of deep, deep problems, to put it mildly. Christina Applegate, I was kind of surprised by this. I didn't know she felt this way. She said, my child is sobbing because her rights as a woman may be taken away. Why? And if you disagree, please unfollow me. And then Billie Eilish echoed and said, yes, this is a war on women. Adam McKay, I'm not sure who this is either. He said, who would have guessed lying about Biden's cognitive health for 2 years, refused. Now, this is some common sense here. He says, who would have guessed lying about Biden's cognitive health for 2 years, refusing to do an open convention for a new nominee, never mentioning public health care, and embracing fracking, the Cheneys, and a year-long slaughter of children in Gaza wouldn't be a winning strategy. It's time to abandon the Democrat Party. So Paul says a bunch of drama queens, and a lot of people have a lot of things to say. That is for sure. Lots of things to say, but and this is something I think might be interesting to some of you, is that there were a lot of parents complaining because professors weren't attending their college classes yesterday. And apparently some of them even canceled the entire week. And let's see, Annette says, expand your knowledge. Misinformation. Many of those elites are going to be called out. They are freaking out. Sex traffickers are involved indirectly, or involved directly. Indirectly, gosh, sorry about that. Their hands are so dirty. You notice they accuse Trump of what they are, many of them. Jay says these Hollywood weirdos are just making themselves even more irrelevant. Thank God not all people in Hollywood are that way. They're not. I've worked with a lot of these people. They are not all that way. But there are some, and I don't blame them. Again, I do not blame them because they are fed this ridiculousness through media, because they're told, don't watch Newsmax, don't watch America Online News, because that's lies and misinformation. It's not real news. Listen to CNN, listen to MSNBC and CBS and PBS and all of those different news stations, of course, that hate us. So of course that's what they're going to get in the news. It's brainwashing, it's gaslighting. They all need to be deprogrammed in some way. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean that we need to show them that this is not the truth. And I think they're only going to see that through action over the next 4 years. And let's see here. Jay, men and women's sports wasn't a war on women. I know it's so confusing to think that some Democrats want to protect women and women's rights, but yet women can no longer truly compete in sports because they're competing against men. And why that's important is because of you can call, you can call yourself Cindy, but if you have the physiology and endurance of a male's body, that's what matters in sports. It's not how you identify, it's the fact that your body allows you to be stronger and have more endurance. It's a fact. We're not made the same. Our bodies are not made the same. Jay says one of the CNN hosts said they have made themselves irrelevant and the party may never recover from being so far left. That might be one of the clips I'm going to play here in a moment. Annette says many are probably told to act a certain way. Marketing and money. There are. I think a lot of the people that we see on the news on either side, they're doing it because they're getting paid. Now, some of them truly are very liberal themselves. Some of them believe the news they're feeding to you, but I think a lot of them don't. So this was going on yesterday. Parents of Missouri State students. My daughter, this is from a parent. She said, my daughter's professor canceled class today because she is too upset to teach. I'd like to be sensitive to the fact that she is upset regarding the election outcome. However, for the amount of money we pay in tuition, I am extremely frustrated by this. Has this happened to anyone else today? And what are your thoughts? It happened to a lot of people. It turns out that it happened to a lot of people. There were actually a lot of professors who did not show up for work. And unfortunately, when these people do show up for work, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to be promoting violence. That's what they're going to do. They're going to be divisive. They're going to come in and their emotions are going to get ahead of them. And that's going to affect their students. And their students' emotions are going to be sky high. These kids are already stressed out enough for who knows how many different reasons. And then we're just churning it up, churning it up. That's what's happening. And let's see. Jay, wonder if they would feel the same if Mike Tyson suddenly said he was female and wanted to box. They would. They'd say, okay. They'd say, okay. Come on, Mike Tyson or Cindy Tyson. Let's come out and box. I mean, it's like, what are people thinking? Here's this guy, Adam Tonelato. Maybe it's just somebody I know and is not a public figure, but I came across this comment on social media. It says, a publicly convicted felon, rapist, and defrauder of children's cancer charity has been elected president. Statistically, lies more than any other politician in history. He had 4-star generals from his cabinet call him a fascist. Has not earned one achievement proving his fitness or ability for office. First term was a notable train wreck that culminated in millions of dead Americans. And somehow people believe he is going to fix inflation. This is embarrassing and shameful. People who voted for him deserve every bad thing that is coming their way. Where was this guy for 4 years? I didn't live in this world. I don't live in a world of privilege. Where did this guy come from? Yes, convicted. That's true. Rapist? No, that's not true. Defrauder of childhood cancer charity? I don't know anything about that. And let's see, lies more than any other politician. That's because the news media is telling you that. And as far as the 4-star generals, there are 200 generals that actually signed a letter to endorse Donald Trump, just not the ones the fake media is telling you to listen to. I don't recall a train wreck. I recall us all living pretty darn good during those 4 years. Because you know what? Even the people who didn't support Trump, guess what? They were still paying. I paid $1.36 for gas at one point during Trump's term, and so was this guy. So was this guy. But this is what he's got to say. And you can't argue with people when they feel this way. It's not their fault. It's not this guy's fault. It's because he was trained to think this way. I'm not upset with him. He was trained to think this way. He's watching media that tells him to feel this way while completely withholding everything I just told you guys about Biden. He's trained to feel this way. And it's a shame. And this is why these people are going to be violent. We're going to talk about violence here in just a moment, but I want to go over something else really quick here. And this is how confused the media is. We're going to take a look at a couple of clips here. And the reason why I'm talking about media so much today is because I hope there's a whole list of things that I think Donald Trump needs to work on in his first couple of weeks in office, literally day one, like Biden, where he sat there with those giant books and signed them. Of course, Biden's were blank. Trump's will actually be filled with true policy. And media is going to be number one on my list because media is what has fueled this fire. It is what fueled it. And we have to tackle media number one. But take a look at this because this is funny.
Are there any places that the vice president is overperforming Joe Biden in 2020? So we could show you that as well. We just bring that out here. Harris overperforming 2020.
Holy smokes.
There you go. So let this go away and see if there's anything on the east side there.
Literally nothing?
Literally nothing.
Literally not one county?
By 3%.
Not one county. Nope, not one county. Nope. People didn't vote for Harris. They just didn't. Some people in the inner cities, that's it. No one else. She didn't get the minority vote. She got the LGBTQ vote largely. She did not get the minority vote like she expected to get. I mean, we can do a rundown that many times. I'm not going to get into all that now because I think we all get who did and did not vote for her. That's for sure. But look, some more people, some more news anchors, just totally baffled. I'm not going to play this entire clip, but this is another some newer news anchors who just don't get it. And then we're going to get into Biden's numbers.
Congress saying, something else we need to look at is how people are turning to social media, podcasts, and other non-traditional sources for their news, and also news stations that aren't news. And I canvassed in all of the battlegrounds. I was shocked by the amount of misinformation voters were truly repeating back to me. Truly shocked. I do believe this is what caused the collapse of the Democrats nationwide. You cannot win when people believe lies.
But I
think that's fair too.
And Willie, we talk about it all the time. We talk to our friends who are lawyers, who are money people on Wall Street. And they just give you misinformation. You're like, dude, where
Smart.
did you get that from? Well, that's
educated.
And then you sit there and you talk them through it. And then they're like, are you sure? Did he really say that about Millie?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't say that about Cheney. You're making that up.
Yeah.
And then you sit there and you say, oh, here, chapter and verse. And then it's Willie didn't mean it.
That's where it always is. He's not gonna put a 200% tariff. Come on, why are you guys biting on all the bait he throws out?
Okay, that's enough out of them. Okay, did you hear what they said? Misinformation. Where does the misinformation come from? It's not coming from us. And of course, they talk about the media that's not really media, which they mean like Newsmax, America Online. They probably mean Fox National, even though I think Fox National swings both ways. And of course, they're going to talk about podcasters because you're going to get more truth from podcasters than you are anywhere else. Because guess what? I'm not saying necessarily me. There's a lot of podcasters out there giving a lot of truth. Jamie Ullman over at News Talk STL giving a lot of truth. Even Vic at Cancel This, he gives a lot of truth. A lot of people out there are giving out some really good information. And why? Because we research it. That's why. We're not fed materials by our producers. We're not trying to cater to sponsors. I don't even have a sponsor. I'm not even looking for sponsors yet, maybe someday. So I don't have to cater to anyone at all. No one. I'm just here to tell the truth. And that's how I think a lot of podcasters are. But they talk about people canvassing and coming up with lies. When I was canvassing, I certainly heard a lot of lies and a lot of misinformation, no question about it. And that's exactly why Democrats lost, because we know the truth. That's why we know the truth. And then they talk about Liz Cheney, the reason why I stopped it there is because exactly the guy's point is exact. That's exactly right. Exactly what he said. You know why? He continued to carry the narrative that Donald Trump said that Liz Cheney should be shot, when we all know that wasn't the truth. And so many other reporters have walked back their statements because it wasn't true. What Donald Trump said, and I played this clip for you guys the other day, Donald Trump's full statement, and that is, he said, if you're such a warmonger, then go up on the front lines. That's what he said. It wasn't that he said, oh, she needs to be killed or harmed. It was nothing like that. Just like, and I compared it to Lindsey Graham. If you want to continue to fight for war and you want to take my child and put my child on the front lines, I better see you up there right next to him. And that's what Trump was saying to Liz Cheney. And it was a perfectly valid statement to make, but they all turned it around. And that's why you can't watch media, because what we just heard right there, those are lies. And that is a perfect example of lies, 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 and more lies. And it's going to lead to violence. It is going to lead to violence. And we're going to talk about violence here very shortly. Jay says everyone has a bias escape, but if you only present half truths, you lose credibility. Yeah, if you're out there, read all the stories. I do. I read both sides of every equation, and then I come up with my own thought process based on what I'm reading and who's saying it, on what is the truth. Because it all comes down to, some things are hearsay, and then when they're hearsay, you just have to tell both sides. This is what this person said. This is what this person said. Make up your own mind. And then other times you can go down to the very fact and say, well, this is the fact of the story. Here is a direct quote. And you just have to do your due diligence to sort out what is true is what is not. And that's not what they're doing. That's the missing piece on their side. They're not doing that. They're busy. They're watching the news. They're watching the wrong news. I wanted to backtrack here back to Biden's votes, because I think it's so incredibly important to talk about this. And I'm not going to get into a big deal over 2020. It's in the past. We can't go back. There's nothing we can do about it. We should be very happy about the victory we've already, recently experienced. However, I think it still needs to be said. Think about this. In 2008, Obama got 69 million votes. 2012, Obama gets 65 million votes. 2016, Hillary Clinton, 65 million votes. 2020, Joe Biden gets 81 million votes. 81 million. 2024, Kamala Harris gets 66 million votes. How is it possible that Joe Biden got 81 million votes? And yes, we've been asking about this, but we couldn't prove it until now, because Harris getting her 66 million votes is actually right in line to where she should be. As a matter of fact, okay, so let's go back to 2020. Joe Biden got 81 million votes. Guess how many votes Trump had? 74 million. In 2020, Trump had 74 million. I would bet you my life that Joe Biden really had, consistent with the other numbers, either 65 million, 69 million, somewhere in that range. That's a consistent Democrat voter number. That would be a standard number that matches all of the others. And in that case, Trump would have won again by a landslide with 74 million votes. And Trump's numbers this time a little bit higher, but also fairly consistent with what he brings out. I mean, he got those votes that he doesn't normally always get, because we went out and we got voters who are on the line to vote. But how can you make this stuff up? And no one wants to answer to that. And Democrats, they just sweep that under the rug. They don't want to talk about that. But it's true. It is true. Kevin, dead folks and duplicates. Yes. And Kevin, I watched CNN and MSNBC on election night. It was beautiful. Oh my God. I can't even imagine. Allison said she should be investigated for her part in J6 committee. Yes, also true. And there's going to be, I think, a lot of investigations that take place. I really do. I think there's going to be, we're gonna have a lot to talk about in the coming days. A lot to talk about because if we have the presidency, the House, and the Senate, there are so many things that we can go from there. So many things we can do. And I'm not going to say we have all the power because there's still obviously checks and balances in place to make sure that no one person takes too much power. And I don't think in my heart of heart, I absolutely know Trump is going to do what's best for all Americans, even the Americans that do not like him, even them. Because you know what? He, in the beginning, he didn't get much of the minority vote. But guess what? He still gave $100 million to historically Black colleges and universities. He still did that. He did more for the Black community than Obama ever did, being a Black man himself, more for them. And I have no doubt in my mind that Trump is going to do so much. And that's what I mean by re-educates and deprogram, is that if things work out, we're going to get into that here in a moment, what's going to happen between now and then. But if we can get certified, if we can get to the inauguration in one piece, I have no doubt in my mind that Trump is immediately going to reassure all of these people who are writing all of these comments about him. That's going to be his number one. I know it is. Trump has never once said that he's going to take away the rights of gay Americans or trans Americans. He has never said that. And there's people right now, I've been seeing these posts on social media, and there are a lot of gay and trans people right now who are being told, this isn't necessarily their own volition. They are being told, and this is what the media feeds to them. It is not their fault that they're misinformed. They're telling them, you need to go right now. We're setting up clinics all across the country, and you need to go right now. If you want your name changed, if you're Allison and you want to be Davy, get out and change your name right now, because when Trump becomes president, you're not going to have that option. That's not true. That is 100% not true. And they're telling people, if you want to get married, if you're gay and you want to get married, go do it now, because Trump is not going to allow gay marriages. That is absolutely not true. And the other thing I'm hearing is that they're saying, well, if you plan on getting gender reassignment surgery or puberty blockers or any of the other things, you better go do it now, because when Donald Trump is elected, he's going to ban all of these things. That is 100% not true. Where were you people at during the 4 years that he ran this country? None of those things happened. None of those things happened. People think they're going to lose their health coverage for their gay spouse. Not going to happen. When Trump was president, he upheld insurance coverage for gay people. He did. He upheld that. That was one of the things he did. He never went out against gay marriage. He, as a matter of fact, I don't even recall him ever speaking out against it. He never once ever came out against the gay community. He did not. But if the gay community really wants to get involved and they really want to talk about the truth, how about let's talk about the Democrats that they have supported? It's like the dog. Some people talk about that story about the dog. If you chain it up, you don't bite it doesn't bite the hand that feeds them, and you take the chains off. And I'm probably getting that all wrong. I think you guys get the drift. But Democrats have supported countries and world leaders that kill gay people. They do. Remember in Syria, Obama was trying to oust Assad. Assad in Syria was protecting gay people. Whereas the people that Obama sided with and that he wanted to put in power, it was a failed mission, America, the most costly failed mission we've ever had in the United States. And Obama was actually training jihadists to take power in Syria. And what do jihadists do to gay people? I think they burn them alive. They throw them off of rooftops. Democrats do not support the gay community. I don't know why people think they do. They do not. They absolutely do not. They support the groups of people who want to kill you. Look, okay, let's say over in the Palestinian region, okay? In the Palestinian region, if you are gay, guess what happens to you? You are murdered. You are thrown in prison. But yet Democrats have funded Hamas all of these years. When Trump came into office, he stopped the funding to Hamas. He supported the Palestinian people, but he supported them through routes in which the money and the aid would never come into contact with Hamas. And then guess what? Joe Biden canceled that policy and he started funding Hamas again, which is why we have all these pro-Palestinian protesters out there who are against Harris and Biden. These people, you know, they know that they know that Democrats used to support Hamas, but yet they're going in and killing the same people they're paying for. We're literally fighting against ourselves. Let's give them money, but let's fight against these same people. There's no sense you can make out of this stuff. So no, Trump is not going to get rid of anything going on in the LGBT community. What he is going to do is he's going to protect children. He is going to protect children in the LGBTQ committee, because some of you probably saw this video where they were talking to this woman and they said, oh, you know, is it okay, you know, if we take this child and conform her into the gay community? She said, absolutely, absolutely so, yes, you know, let's do that. And then they said, well, what about the Christian community? Oh, no. You know, let's go put this kid on puberty blockers. Let's tell her that she can choose whether she's a male or a female, but let's not talk to her about God or the Bible or Christianity. That is something Trump is going to tackle, because our country was founded on Christianity, and that is going to continue. You can't take that away from us. It's perfectly fine if you're an atheist, if you're a Satanist, whatever you want to be, that's fine. But do not trample on our rights. And that's exactly what Trump's going to do. He is going to stand up for Christians, and he is going to block these people from attacking children. And that goes into the whole pedophile situation and the Diddy and the Epstein list. And Trump is going to out all of these people. He is going to protect the children when the Democrat leaders have exploited children. They've exploited them. Don't think they haven't. Somebody was talking about baby farms, and was talking about conservatives and our baby farms and the children that we raise to assault. I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? I'm like, conservatives don't have baby farms. We're not the one raping children. No, I mean, how many Republicans do you think are at the Diddy parties or at the Epstein Island? I would say probably very few, very, very few, if any at all. So please wipe that out of your mind, because that's not going to happen. Trump is going to uphold the rights of all Americans, every single one of you. Everybody's going to be more profitable under a Trump administration. No question about it. And your children are going to be protected. And yes, if you're one of these people and you're trying to promote, whether it's pedophilia or LGBTQ values or whatever it is, on minors, yes, those minors are going to be protected, and you're probably not going to like it, but you shouldn't be doing those things anyway. We need somebody to stand up for our children. I'm telling you, it's about time, right? So those are some of the things that I'm hearing that they're talking about, and it's crazy. Things are crazy. The world is crazy. I'm going to play this video here for you, because, you know, I want to get into what's going to happen between now and the certification, between now and Trump potentially being inaugurated. Don't think we had our day of victory. Now we can talk the truth. Don't think for 1 minute that Democrats are going to give up that easily. Do not think it. Harris may have given this speech about we're going to concede gracefully or transition to power peacefully, whatever it is she said. But she also said we're still going to fight, and they are still going to fight. And don't think that this is over just because she conceded the election. Don't think it's over, because Democrats are not going to give up easily. Now, hopefully we have a lot of different things in place that won't allow them to take Trump out of the running. I don't know. I just don't know. This is Professor Joe Siracusa, and I want you to hear what he has to say. He's saying a lot of the same things that we all say, but I want you to hear it from him because he's a professor. Not that always means anything, but sometimes it does.
A lot of the mainstream media tend to be anti-Trump. They tend to say things that are not true. They talk about Kamala Harris doing this and that when she hasn't done this and that. And the mainstream media ignored for about a year and a half President Joe Biden's inability to govern. He just grew old in office, and he lost his cognitive abilities. I mean, my real concern is who's running Washington. We got Kamala Harris, who's the default candidate for president. We got President Biden, who is too ill to run for president, yet he's still running the White House. And I think the most important thing about this election, whoever wins, is what happens between today and January 20th when there's a changeover in power. Because President Biden can still do a great deal of damage. His policies in Ukraine had been contested. Donald Trump has made it very clear that he's going to be working with Putin to end this war as soon as possible. Same thing, he's going to try to end the war in Gaza and the like. And so, there are a lot of things at stake here, a lot of reputations, and a lot of people in Washington don't want to see Donald Trump come in because he looks like he's going to change the rules of the game. And they don't want to change the rules of the game. I mean, a lot of these intelligence agencies and the foreign policy elite and the political elite, they're just doing their own thing. And the American people follow suit. Keep in mind in this election, Americans don't directly vote for the president. They vote for a set of electors who then go to Washington to confirm the vote. So it's an indirect election of the president of the United States. The founding fathers weren't all that crazy about democracy, to tell you the truth. They wanted to put a buffer between the people, who can be very, very rough, and the ruling authorities, which wanted to preserve their position.
Now, you're not going to hear that on mainstream media. It's just not going to be. And yes, I took that off of Sputnik because you know what? We get real news from foreign news far more than we do here in the United States. It's unfortunate that we have to find material on those sites, but you know what? It is what it is. Our media is very restricted. It's government media. As I said the other day, you can't even do searches anymore on these different platforms for real news. They're going to feed you the news that they want you to hear. So you really, really, really have to reach out. Al Jazeera, Sputnik, there's so many different news sources out there, Pravda, that you can read some real news on. So give that some thought. But what Professor Siracusa says is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Remember in 2020, we said, well, Republicans go to certify the vote and they don't have, the electors, they don't have to give the votes to the candidate that won. They don't. And so when we go into certification, are Democrats going to be so defiant that they refuse to certify Donald Trump? Are they going to be so defiant that even though Trump won these electoral votes, are they still going to give them to Harris just because they hate Trump so much and because he threatens so much of what they all profit from? There's so many things to think about. Charles, WION, India is a foreign source I like. Yes, I read the India Times also. There's a lot of different news sources in India. I try to read a lot of foreign news. I go through my little spiel every day when I'm reading the news of going through all of these different countries and different sites. And because you're not going to get it here, that's for sure. You're not going to get it here. And Allison says, Harris has to certify the election results. Not really. Harris can do anything she wants to do because you have to remember Democrats they think that they are fighting a battle for their very lives. They do. They think they're fighting this battle because if they lose, if they allow Trump to be in the White House, he is going to push that red button. He's going to kill us all. So when people have that ideology and by people, I'm talking about the electors, the Electoral College, whenever our representatives who are supposed to cast the vote for the people, they don't necessarily have to. And I'm hoping to get somebody on to talk to us about that, by the way, to get in a little bit more detail. But Jay says, I don't think they will. The fallout would be immense. Yes, the fallout would be immense. And, the people have spoken. Trump won the popular vote. He won the popular vote. And if Democrats think that there was cheating that took place on the Republican side, or if they think that there were votes that weren't counted or that there were votes that they didn't receive because of different happenings that took place, during the election or on election day, then you know what? Then they need to go and plead their case. That's everyone's right to do. If you don't feel the election was fair, then you know what? Go and plead your case. See if the courts want to listen to you. They sure didn't want to listen to Donald Trump, that's for sure. See what happens. See if they can turn over the votes in some of those counties. I would be interested to see that challenge take place. But I'll tell you what, it is not going to be an easy road. Don't think it's going to be an easy road. We celebrated our victory day yesterday. I allowed myself to just let it settle in. But now we're off on another ride, because between now and then, we have to have our heads on a swivel. There are a lot of reports of attacks taking place across the country, and people just innocently harming other people. Unfortunately, these things happen. These things happen, but I think we're going to see more of it. Allison says she's the one that does it, but I don't think she will certify. Jamie Raskin and Chuck Schumer is already saying that. I think a lot's going to happen. And Jay says, besides, the Electoral College isn't made up entirely of one party. That's absolutely true. And I think Trump is so far ahead right now in the electoral votes because he won all these swing states, all of them. And he is so far ahead right now in the electoral vote that even if a couple of the folks from the Electoral College refuse to give him those votes, he should still be fine. I don't really see that as an avenue unless they have some kind of big meeting and say, hey, if we're just not going to give Trump these votes, because if we do, he's going to destroy our country. We're going to be in a nuclear war. He's going to tear up the FDA and the Federal Reserve, and we're going to be in a state of chaos. Joe Biden is still the president right now. Think about that. Joe Biden is still the president. The deep state is still running this country, and they can come up and pull anything they want out of the hat. And who knows what that might be. They could consider it a state of national emergency. They could say, well, we can't allow this man to run this country because he is a threat to our country. He's a threat to the nation. He's going to, again, start wars and do all these other things. And that can happen. Don't think that can't happen. There's a lot of different things that could come in to play. And we're going to see, I think, some of these things talked about, and we're going to see different scenarios discussed. And I'll tell you, we've got to be prepared for violence. Colonel Joe Adams is going to join us again tomorrow because we were kind of waiting for things to settle in. We wanted our day of victory. We wanted to see what direction Democrats are taking, because I think they also had to let it settle in. And now that it has settled in, they're going to start coming up with their own game plan. And we're going to start seeing that unfold before our eyes. Right now, we can just speculate of things they could do, things they might want to do. But we're going to see that play out before our eyes. And we're going to see exactly, what are they capable of? We're going to find out, because I can guarantee you some of the things that Trump and Elon Musk and Robert Kennedy Jr. want to do, Democrats are going to consider that a true threat to this country. It's not. It's going to better this country, but they see it as a threat. And I saw this statement yesterday, speaking of threats. I'm going to read this statement to you, and I'm going to tell you, this guy was very blunt. I'm going to substitute the word here with the letter, because believe it or not, you guys probably don't even know them. I don't swear. I don't say bad words. So it's hard for me when I read copy, because I have to find another word to say or somehow make sure you understand what they're saying without actually saying it. So that's sometimes very difficult for me. Just thought I would throw that in there. So this is from the Pennsylvania District Attorney. That is the person who has given this warning to the folks in Pennsylvania. He says, F around and find out. Protesters considering causing violence are warned, do not F around by all authorities, as the country has had their say in the next president. His direct statement is, anybody who thinks it's time to play militia, F around and find out. The country is braced for violence. And he goes on to say anybody who thinks it's time to insult, to deride, to mistreat, to threaten people, F around and find out. We do have the cuffs, we do have the jail cells, we do have the Philly juries, and we have the state prisons. This is Larry Krasner. He is the Pennsylvania district attorney. Those are his words. I'm a mess in this second hour, aren't I? Those are his words. And as he goes on to say, the country is bracing for violence in all of these swing states and all of the battleground states because there are chatter out there. The FBI is picking it up. Other intelligence agencies are picking it up that there are violent protests planned in these swing states. And I think that that is probably, let's say, I'm not going to blame it on Antifa, let's say Antifa type folks who are very upset about a Donald Trump win. And so these people want to go out and they want to cause harm in these swing states because they say, okay, they lost in these swing states, so they're going to go there and make these people pay so that next time around, these people know how to vote. It's absolutely ridiculous. Allison, did you hear New York Attorney General Letitia James? I did not. I did not. Was she calling for violence or telling people not to be violent? I don't, but I'll look it up. And because I did not hear it. There's a lot going on, people. There's a lot going on. A lot of different things are happening. There are warnings coming out from different authorities in different parts of the country who said it is not okay just because you're upset about the election. It is not okay to go out and harm innocent civilians. And they're talking about, we don't want to see, of course, more riots like we saw right here in St. Louis, like what we saw in Minneapolis. And these people, who knows what it is that they have planned. It's not even all unfolded yet. It's coming down the line. And Allison said she's going after Trump still, and they will. Allison, they will continue because they don't want to give up power. They don't want to give up power. They don't want to see Trump in the White House. They don't want to see Republicans control the House and the Senate. And again, like I said at the beginning of the show, Donald Trump would have got so much more done in his term, good things done for this country, but Democrats blocked him every single step of the way. And they still will. There will be Republicans masquerading. I should say they're Democrats masquerading as Republicans in Congress. We all know who they are, and some of them should be worried. Lindsey Graham being one of them, who has been, very negative towards Donald Trump. I'm sure he's probably wondering about his position right now. And I'm surprised that Americans continue to keep Lindsey Graham around. He's like one of the biggest warmongers that we have. No doubt about that. But there is a lot going on. There's a lot of stuff happening. And I really do think that it would be wise if Donald Trump sequestered himself. Somebody mentioned that on the show yesterday. If he goes into hiding, there's nothing that says he cannot go into hiding. I think he, Elon Musk, JD Vance, all need to go into hiding, some undisclosed location between now and the certification and then until the inauguration, because I really do think their lives are at threat. And I'm not even talking about radicals here in the country. I'm not even talking about that. I am talking about the true threat, like Laura Logan said, that we have heat-seeking missiles that have been smuggled across our southern border that are in the hands of the cartel, specifically aimed to take out Trump. And I kept waiting for the shoe to drop while Trump was running. And then I kept thinking, okay, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Of course they did a lot. He was almost assassinated a couple of different times. And then I kept waiting for it to happen again. Then I thought, okay, if they're going to do something really crazy, like using a heat-seeking missile against his airplane, they're going to wait to call out the big guns until after he's elected, if he's elected, because obviously if he's not elected, there's no reason to go to those extreme measures. But now that he has won, they're going to step up the game, because obviously what can stop Donald Trump from taking office is if he's no longer here with us. I really do hope that he goes into hiding. I hope that he finds a way somehow to keep himself safe, his family safe, as well as Elon Musk, and of course, and of course, Robert Kennedy Jr. They are all at stake. just because look at some of the things that, they want to do. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. And I'm sure you guys read this statement by Robert Kennedy Jr. I'm going to read this to you just in case you didn't. And this is going to be why they're going to be targeting him. This is a statement he made on X yesterday, X being the new platform of freedom. He says FDA's war on public health is about to end. This includes its aggressive suppression of psychedelics, peptides, some stem cells, raw milk, hyperbaric therapies, chelating compounds, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, vitamins, clean food, sunshine, exercise, nutraceuticals, and anything else that advances human health and can't be patented by pharma. If you work for the FDA and are part of this corrupt system, I have two messages for you. One, preserve your records, and two, pack your bags. And he means business. He definitely means business. And think about this. Trump is talking about, we talked about this yesterday, dismantling the Federal Reserve. And if you want to buy crypto, I would do it now. I would do it now because with Elon Musk involved, Elon Musk is huge into crypto. Donald Trump is huge into crypto. Crypto is the way of the future. I know conservatives haven't necessarily, wrapped their arms around crypto, but we need to get with the times. We need to change, as we must adjust through the times. If we eliminate the Federal Reserve and install crypto as our primary, or at least an option, a monetary option here in the United States, that's going to take the power away from the Federal Reserve. It's going to take the power away from the deep state. That means two things. One is they're going to fight with everything they have to keep that from happening. And two, if we can manage to do this, it's going to give the power back to the people and take it away from the deep state. Because this election, bringing Donald Trump in, it's much more. It's about so much more than Donald Trump. In my opinion, it's barely about Donald Trump. It is about we the people. That's what it's about. This election was about us, not him. He's our facilitator, but the election is about us, and it's about giving the power back to the people. And I truly do believe that dismantling the Federal Reserve and the pharmaceutical companies and, of course, the FDA and possibly NATO and the UN, that is the only way we get the power back to the people. And that's what this movement is about. And that's why I feel like Joe Biden could step in as still the sitting president and say, we're facing an insurmountable threat by a Donald Trump presidency. We can't let that happen. I don't know that he has the power to do that. If there's anything anybody can do about that. And let's see here. Dave, Federal Reserve is all powerful. Hello, Tommy Lyons. Charles, what does that mean? Give the power back to the people. I don't understand how that works. Well, give us control back of our money. I don't want if the deep state is not controlling the Federal Reserve, if there is no Federal Reserve, money is really money. Right now, your money is not really your money. It's really not. You go to the bank, let's say you give them $1,000. They're going to report you to the IRS because you deposited more than $600. And if you do it in cash, they might even ask you for your ID and write you down on the special list because you've deposited cash and they don't understand where your cash came from. So they're going to be watching you. And you put your money in the bank. The bank takes your money, of course. You guys all know how the banking system works. That money is now their money, and they give you some blips on a screen. If you get hacked, guess what? Those blips go away. If the government crashes, guess what? Those blips go away. All your money is gone. Every single bit of it is gone. The dollar has been sinking, and the Federal Reserve is outdated. We don't need it anymore. It was created for control for the deep state. We have to do away with that system. And by giving the power back to the people means that we're in control of our own finances. When you go to work and you work a day of work, and let's say you earned $100 that day, $200 that day, 75 cents of every dollar shouldn't go to the IRS. It shouldn't happen. That should be your money that you worked for. Yes, we have to pay a nominal fee to keep things going. But guess what? There was a time when, and certainly other countries do this. Not every country has an IRS, and people don't pay taxes in every country. And some people live very well in the countries that don't force people to pay these taxes. And as you guys know, we fought a revolution over this already, right? About taxation. And by dismantling the Federal Reserve, We take the power away from the deep state. We put the power back within the people and we start making our own laws. You know, we need a whole new system. And it's going to take a lot of work. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in Trump's 4-year term, that's for sure. They can start the processes on these things. They can't walk in on day one and say, oh, Federal Reserve's gone. Oh, the FDA is gone. They can try to start reform and we can get ourselves on the right path. But this is about so much more than Trump's 4-year presidency. This is about restructuring our entire country going forward to make sure we have control of our money, that all of our money doesn't go to pay taxes, that we don't have to work 15, 16, 18 hours a day just to be able to survive, to be able to buy food. I went to the grocery store the other night and I watch people. I don't know about you guys. I'm very observant when it comes to that. I watch people and I look at people on the street. I look at people in the store and I always think, what are they thinking about? What are their lives like? How are they living day to day? Sometimes it's somebody really wealthy and I think, oh, that, good for them. They've worked hard probably and they've managed to take advantage of that, which is a fantastic thing. Capitalism is what this country is about. If people can go out and make money and have the American dream, I'm very happy for that. But more often the people I see are people who are struggling. I saw a man at the grocery store the other day, an elderly man, not, elderly, but I don't know. I'm not going to get into his age, but anyway, he was paying for his groceries and I saw him earlier in the store and he was just picking up a couple little things, lunch meat, bread, something to drink. It was very minimal groceries. And, it doesn't mean that he's poor or doesn't have any money. It could be just that he just needed these things, but he got up to the cash register and I just happened to be behind him and he was really struggling to count his money. And he was pulling money out of all of his pockets, out of his wallet, trying to make sure he had enough money to buy these things. And I was about 2 seconds away from stepping up and just giving this guy some money, but I didn't want to hurt his pride or offend him. So I was just watching kind of out of the corner of my eye, trying not to be obvious. And then he did come up with the money and went on his way. But I was kind of, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, man, do I need to give this guy money? Do I offend him if I do that? I don't want to hurt his pride. And a lot of things go into the thought process. But that's a lot of Americans right now. There's a lot of Americans just like this man. And I don't know what this guy's life. He might go home to some big mansion. I don't know. You just don't know. But I know that Americans are struggling. And the only way to keep that from happening is to start fresh. Wipe the slate clean. Get rid of all of these rhinos in Congress. Put in people who actually do care about the people. Do exactly what Robert Kennedy Jr. just talked about. Disband these pharmaceutical companies. Pharmaceutical companies, they're worried about it. I own a lot of pharmaceutical stock because every time something crazy happens, I do what they do. They want to buy Viking Pharmaceuticals. I buy Viking Pharmaceuticals. My stocks have been climbing like crazy recently. Then yesterday they just plummeted. I'm probably the only person on the planet that lost money, but guess what? So did they. And I'm okay with losing money if it's for the right reasons. But pharmaceutical stock was like plummeting yesterday because they know they're in trouble. They want us sick. And you know what? We woke up. We know that they want us to be sick. No more. No more. And so there's a lot of good plans and process here. Crypto, it might take you a little while to get into that. Take a look at it. Look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is sky high right now. Sky high. It went way up. I only have a little bit of Bitcoin. And a lot of people think it'll actually be Ethereum or even Dogecoin. Elon Musk is a huge fan of Dogecoin. There could be a lot of different things that go on with crypto. I have held on to my crypto and I've lost money. I've made money. It's been back and forth, but I held on to it. I did not sell. So I'm happy for that because my crypto is going up. But there's a lot of things going on. And Charles, gold and silver was the original cryptocurrency. But I get what you're saying. And look at how many countries are backing their currency in gold. I don't ever want to get rid of cash. I want to come up with another system, but I don't ever want to get rid of using cash. And I wish we all relied a lot less on debit cards, of course, which kind of brings me to what I wanted to talk about next. And we're going to get into, we've got a lot of days to talk about Trump's policies and what RFK Jr. is going to do. We're going to talk about the Federal Reserve a whole lot more, as well as the dollar, because yesterday Iran's dollar just like crashed pretty much, or their currency crashed, I should say, not their dollar. And our dollar began to rise. So we're already seeing some positive movement there. And think about Elon Musk. If Elon Musk, is part of Donald Trump's administration, which apparently he will be, I don't know exactly where yet. Think of, outside of the crypto, think about where Elon Musk is as far as space travel. He brings so much to the forefront, with SpaceX. He brings so much more to the forefront in medical devices, Neuralink. A lot of people are a little scared about Neuralink. I think a lot of people don't know if they can trust Elon Musk or not, because you hear these wild, crazy stories. I read one of them this morning talking about how he just put out, $35 million to buy these 2 homes for the mothers of some of his children. He does have a lot of children. But what a lot of people don't understand is one of these mothers of his children, he was never with her. People were commenting, he's a polygamist. No. He's actually, from what I understand, single right now. And the person that had these 3 children with him is somebody who, from what I understand, was struggling to have children. And he donated to her. She had these 3 children through in vitro. He and her never had a romantic relationship. So the media wants to put a lot of different things out there. You're going to hear a lot of propaganda about Robert Kennedy Jr., about Elon Musk. Just please make sure that you research it first, because no, he's not. He doesn't have like 3 girlfriends and he's impregnating them all. That is not what happened. He had a wife and their relationship ended. And then he had a girlfriend and now their relationship has ended. And these other children are people that he has talked to because he's worried about the world's population declining. And there are people in his business, people that he knows. And he said, hey, if you're struggling and you can't have children, I'll make this donation to you. Now, that might still seem strange to some of you. It doesn't to me, but he, helping mothers have children, people who can't have children of their own, or people who are single mothers and just choose not to be with somebody. There's nothing wrong with that. And Democrats support in vitro, don't they? Isn't that what their big deal was not too long ago? Dave, Iran and Afghanistan look like those plane loads of cash are about to stop. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Dave, because Afghanistan is another country where we know Biden, he just gave them, what was it, $83 million to Afghanistan? We allowed them to take over. We allowed the Taliban to take over in Afghanistan, and we just gave them $83 million. They say, it was a mistake. And I'm not going to get into this right now. I'm going to go down a tangent that I don't need to go down today. All the missing money from the Biden administration. There are millions of dollars unaccounted for. Nobody knows where they're at. Where did that money go? Who knows? Probably to the Taliban, probably to Hunter Biden, and probably Pizzagate. Now that we know that there's a lot more truth to Pizzagate than what we ever thought there was. And we're probably going to find out even a lot more. And so, I'm just trying to go over some of the reasons why Democrats in the deep state would not want a Trump administration. They don't want Trump to control space travel. They don't. They don't want him to control money and finances and economics and the pharmaceuticals, because guess what? We're actually going to have an administration that does something for the people, who tries to make us healthier instead of sicker, right? Who gives us more money instead of taking money to line their own pockets. They don't want that. They do not want that. And thank God more Americans woke up and realized that we Americans, we don't want to be sick and poor any longer. And we have done our due diligence in fighting back, because that's what we have to do. As a matter of fact, you know what? I wasn't going to play this, but I'm going to, because I want to show you exactly what I mean. I played this the other day, and this was, of course, before a Trump win. This is Rachel Maddow on MSNBC talking about how Elon Musk was going to have to give up his companies. Either way, whether Trump wins or whether Trump loses, that Elon Musk can no longer be associated with SpaceX, because he's going to have to move away from NASA. He's going to lose all of his contracts. And I'd be curious what she's saying about that today. But I'm going to play this here for you guys because it is so incredibly ironic.
But even if Trump doesn't win, the Defense Department and NASA are going to need a new arrangement for all their rockets and for all the multi-billion-dollar contracts Elon Musk's companies have with the U.S. government. The U.S. government is going to have to either, unwind from all of those contracts, or Elon Musk's companies are going to have to unwind from him. This is an untenable reality in national security terms, now that we know what we know about Elon Musk.
What we know about Elon. Oh my gosh, that's some serious TDS there, isn't it? Rachel Maddow, she's so worried about Elon Musk's involvement with Trump that she said, even if Trump doesn't win, that we can no longer allow Elon Musk to control his own companies, his own ideas, because he is a Trump supporter. He can no longer be affiliated with NASA. Or this lady has lost her mind. She has lost her mind. I wonder what she's saying now. And Alice said they need to send her into space and leave her. I am all for that. Speaking of that, who knows what's going to happen with space? Are we going to find out, was the moon landing real? Is Trump going to tell us? We know he's going to talk about the UFOs, which so many people have been commenting about him, opening up the files for the UFOs. The government, the deep state, they don't want that. Everything he plans to do, the deep state, they don't want, because then we, the people, we're going to know how lied to we truly were. But Elon Musk, from what I understand, I don't think he believes. He said in all of his SpaceX missions, he has never once encountered anything alien-like. Never. Not in all of those missions. I don't really know that he is a believer, but it'll be interesting to see some of those files and see what happens. And of course, the Epstein list, which, the Epstein list alone, the deep state does not want to be released. And I would think that they would assassinate Trump over that alone, not to mention everything else. I mean, we're going to find out so much stuff, and that is the last thing they want. And that's exactly why I do think that he needs to go into hiding. And of course, there's no question that Zelensky, he's already waiting for his handout. Did you notice that? Already waiting for his handout. As a matter of fact, Zelensky, I believe, was the first person to congratulate Donald Trump. It was the first statement I saw about anyone congratulating Donald Trump on a win. And of course, he had to throw in there, he's looking forward to their strategic involvement. Sorry, Zelensky. I actually have a feeling Zelensky is going to be fired, because I think we all know that the deep state put him into that position. It's a puppet government over in Ukraine, and all the money laundering and child trafficking, sex trafficking that goes on over in Ukraine. That's all going to end. They're going to have to find a new person to put into that place, because you know that Zelensky's not running the show over there. That's the deep state running the show. And that's where they do all of their dirty work, away from the prying eyes of Americans. So Zelensky better start looking for a new job. I guess he better get out his tutu and his heels and get back to dancing for a living, because that is exactly where he belongs and where he will end up again. Of course, he's $44 billion richer. So what's it to him anyway? He should just walk away gracefully before we have to put down the hammer on him. And the only other thing I really want to talk about today is what we can do. As I said earlier in the show, Donald Trump, let's just hope and pray that everything works out, that he's certified, that he gets inaugurated, and that everything goes as it should go, and that there truly is a peaceful handover of power. Or if there's not, that we manage to make our way through it, and that whatever violence ensues, that we all happen to manage to make our way through that. But we don't have to wait until Donald Trump takes office, because we, the people, we do have the power. And we have the power over not only ourselves, but we have the power over them as well. And don't think that we don't, because we do. The first I'm going to say, number one on my list is social media. And I have to be very careful, because I realize where I'm broadcasting right now, but I'm also broadcasting my show on several other places as well. I think that we need to start making the switch. Start thinking about the social media platforms who have reprimanded us all of these years, that have taken away our freedom of speech, that every single day they take away our right to post what we want, talk about what we want. And that is, if, as long as we're not breaking rules, it's not violent, it's not harmful, it's not harassment. Obviously, there are always going to be rules you have to follow. But aren't you tired of being told that something is disinformation when you know it's actually a fact? Why do we keep supporting these platforms that don't want us? Really, I mean, why? Look what happened. We have Zuckerberg, who admitted in a court of law under testimony that the Biden administration paid him to make sure that they reprimanded us and deleted our posts. Now, did he really regret it or not? I don't know. I've had 3 posts deleted this week, 3 reprimands this week, and I'm probably going to get more every single day. My show gets a big banner above it that it can only be played in so many countries because of this violation and that violation. I have a list a mile long of all the things I've done wrong and posted wrong, yet every one of them were factual, every single one of them. And think about this. What about X? Formerly Twitter. I hated Twitter, but now X is a platform in which once you start using it, it's not that different than the usual platform you might use. You know, you can't make a big long statement. It is limited by how many characters, but there's a lot you can say. You can make 20 posts if you want to get your point out. But you go on there, you make your post, and underneath that, people comment. You see their comments, you comment back. It's really no different. It's an ongoing conversation. And I'll tell you what, Elon Musk has supported us every single step of the way. And I promise you, we would not have won all of these swing states if it were not for him. He is the person that paid us to go out. And well, he didn't pay us. He put money into a super PAC, and that super PAC paid us to go out and talk to thousands of people in all of these states to get the vote out for Donald Trump. He single-handedly came up with the idea, put the plan in action, and was very hands-on involved. And we owe so much to him. And here he has a platform where he's offering it to us to go on and speak our minds. And yes, there are still rules. You can't harass people or, cause violence or anything else. There's rules on every platform. But not one time on X have I been reprimanded. I've had no posts deleted. Nothing like that has happened. And I've not been on there a lot. I don't have a ton of followers on there, but I am going to start building my X platform, and I'm going to start moving away from the other platforms and moving to X. And I think we all need to do the same thing. Support the people who support us. Why keep giving money? And even though you're not paying for some of your platforms, they are making money on the advertising based on the number of people who use their platform. We speak with our money. That's how we control things. We control things with our participation, with our money. I know people are not familiar with X. A lot of you aren't, but start thinking about, look into it, create an account. Make sure you follow me if you do, because I will follow you back. And you know what? Just dip the toes in. Start posting on there. Get a feel for it. Start getting used to it, because eventually, I don't know what's going to happen with some of these other platforms. I don't know if they're going to get harder on us in defiance over Trump, or if they're going to feel like they have to loosen up a little bit. But what I've experienced in the past couple of days is that they're very defiant. We have to support the people who support us. Please go out, create that X account, and start using it. And eventually I'm going to move all of my things over, and I'm probably not going to use many of the other platforms because I really just don't think it's worth it. I think we need to take ourselves, our like-minded people, and we just got to let go of the past and start moving into the future. That's my plan anyway. We have to put our money to the people who support us. We've talked about community businesses. Let's start day one. Let's start today. And I know a lot of us are already doing this, putting your money into your community. That's how your dollars talk. Look at all of these chain stores and chain restaurants. These people don't support us. Look at what they do to their employees. I know of so many chain stores and chain restaurants, and they don't pay their people anything. The reason why most of America is poor, and why the heir to Walmart is now the wealthiest woman in the world, is because guess what? Because they profit off of you. They go and they buy these cheap products in China, mark up the prices and sell them to you, and then they get very wealthy. And then they don't pay their employees anything. They don't even want to hire full-time workers at Walmart and some of these other stores. Stop shopping there. Just stop. Find a locally owned grocery store. Find a locally owned grocery store. Find a community grocery store. Grow your own stuff. Take them out of the picture altogether. Visit your farmers. Buy your vegetable and fruits from farmers markets, from vegetable stands, directly from farmers. There are different types of farm stands that are open all year round. Buy your meats from a butcher. And I know right now some of this stuff is expensive. It's expensive to go to a butcher, but it's expensive right now to buy meat anywhere. And I hope that changes. But I know there's a lot of farmers who want to work out deals. You can make a deal, get together with your friends, family, neighbors, and buy a portion of a whole animal and have that processed. And that is a way to save money on meats. But we have to support the businesses that support us. That is one way we take control. And go out and search what businesses are supporting you. What businesses support conservatives? What businesses were behind us in this last election? And which ones were against us? If a business was against us, guess what? Then they should lose our business because we are the majority. And if the majority pulls their business away from these companies who are against us, then guess what? Go out and look for companies. Look at companies who are moving their businesses or their business out of the United States. So many products we buy, while they may say, oh, we're an American company, well, they're employing people out, in India or in Mexico or here or there. And how's that helping us? That's taking money away from us. Stop patronizing these businesses. Try to buy American made. I know it's expensive, but we can all do it. It's not going to be easy. But we all have to take control back by empowering each other. That it means empowering your local businesses, empowering the companies that support us. Trust me, we can do it. And we're going to have more to add to the list, of course. My gosh, find a new role model for your children. Please do that. I hate to say this. I don't want to go off on a tangent on Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is a diehard Democrat. Okay, she has been to some of these parties we talk about allegedly. I don't know that. Allegedly, I've heard her name come up, may not be true. However, what is true is that she gave a very compelling statement to her fans to vote for Kamala Harris. And that's her right. I don't have any problem with her right to do that. It's her right to vote. It's a free country for whoever she wants to vote. But do you want her to be a role model for your children? Children have role models because of what you put in front of them and their friends, of course. But if parents put other role models in front of their children will follow those other role models. It doesn't have to be somebody who is against us. So you're taking your kid to this concert, getting, are all dressed up and cute and all this other stuff to go follow an entertainer who hates you. And you're paying all this money to follow an entertainer that literally hates you. So why are we doing this? I don't understand it. Why are we doing this? I don't get it. So please, there's a lot of role models out there that are positive influences for your children. Please seek them out because they are out there. And again, I'm not downing Taylor Swift. She just happens to be somebody that came to mind where I know a lot of very good conservatives who take their kids to her concerts and buy her products, but yet she does not like you. She doesn't support you. She's influencing your child to vote in the way that she votes. If she kept her mouth shut, it's okay that she's a Democrat. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with her voting for Harris and supporting who she wants. We are a free country for all. But it's another story when she is giving that impression to your children. But yet, hey, we keep taking our kids and idolizing her and people like her. So that's something we can do. Newsmax is another one. Newsmax is about to go public. Pretty soon you're going to be able to buy stock to Newsmax. Do so. Absolutely do so. Many years ago, I had some conversations with Chris Ruddy. He is the owner of Newsmax. He is a really nice guy. He is doing this for the right reason. People think Newsmax is new, but it's been around since I think the late 80s, early 90s, something like that. It's been around a long time. He and I are actually connected on LinkedIn and have been for many, many years since LinkedIn, as a matter of fact, first came around. He's a nice guy. He's telling the truth. Newsmax is what I watched on election night, and they were the first to call a lot of these states for Donald Trump. They were definitely hours ahead calling Georgia, hours ahead of Fox National, that's for sure, and calling Georgia. And they were right on all of it, all of it. They are true news, good news. I like America Online also, but Newsmax is my favorite. Stop watching Fox. I'm sorry. I know this is going to anger some of you. I like some of the hosts on Fox. You can still watch and support those individual hosts. But Fox, they were not calling it for Donald Trump. They weren't. They were not. They were holding out. They were playing a game. And I don't watch them anyway. I don't watch any news. But if I am going to watch news, it's definitely going to be Newsmax. And when they come out with stock, guess what? I'm going to be the first person to buy it. I am waiting and ready, and I plan on buying some. So please support the people who support you. And that includes Newsmax and America Online News. It includes podcasters and anyone you feel is telling the truth. I feel like we're not competition for each other. Like I might have a podcast. Vic has a podcast. We have Jamie Allman over at News Talk STL, along with a lot of other great shows over there. And even Real Talk. I'm not a big fan of Real Talk after having a show there and what I saw that, kind of went on behind the scenes. But there are some good hosts there that are telling some truth. We're not competition. We're all on the same side. So I hope you listen to all of those folks. But that's really all I have to say today. I'm going to have a lot more to say over the coming days. Of course, Colonel Joe Adams is going to be joining us tomorrow. I can't wait to talk to Colonel Joe Adams. That's going to be exciting. And I've noticed I haven't had any YouTube comments lately. I probably need to go on there and check and make sure my show's still there because I keep getting reprimanded there also. Another one, you know what? If they reprimand you, if they don't support you, move away from them. That's it. Move away. I'm going to be getting my act together. I've been so busy. I'm going to try to get things going on Rumble. I have a Rumble account, but there's so much more to it. You have to program it separately. It's another step in the process every morning. When I was at Cancel This, we struggled with Rumble pretty much every single day. They don't make it easy to broadcast a live show there. So if anything, maybe I'll just upload the show later so at least it's on Rumble. And then I'm going to get to busy and we're going to start creating. I already have the accounts to get on Spotify and some of the other different audio networks. And there's a lot to do, a lot going on now that the election has happened, now that we have our victory and concentrate on some other things. And, again, like I said early in the show, summer's coming up. We're going to start talking about gardening, homesteading. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics besides politics as things move ahead. There's going to be a lot of positive things to talk about. And I don't know if any of you guys are making comments or not. If you are, I cannot see them. They've probably already had enough of me today and are limiting things for me. But I do hope that all of you have a really great day. Again, I'm going to be talking to Colonel Joe Adams tomorrow with the Washington Guard. You can reach him at patriots@thewashingtonguard.com. If you start hearing about these reports of violence, if you will eventually, if you start hearing these reports and find that these things are near you or that you're concerned, reach out to patriots@thewashingtonguard.com because they will give you some advice, talk to you about what you can and can't do. So please do that. They're, just a great group of people, and they're always happy to help somebody, even if you're not their member. So make sure you reach out to Colonel Joe Adams. I will look forward to talking to you all tomorrow. So much more to talk about. Every day things are going to unfold. We're going to have a lot to talk about, but we're also going to start breaking things up again. We don't have to talk about politics all the time because guess what? We got this. We do. We've got it. And we worked hard for it, and it's ours. And we're definitely going to take it. No question about that. So I look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow. I'm Tabitha with Tabs on.